everybody, my name is Paige Bjerkaas. My PDGA number is 33833. I'm a professional disc golfer and I'm going to tell you what's in my bag. So we'll start off with the drivers. I don't have too many different molds in my bag. However, I have a lot of the molds that I like. So I'll start with my favorite distance driver in my bag, and that is the Dynamic Discs Trespass. I have one Lucid one and 3 Fusion. So one of my Lucids and 2 of my Fusions are lightweight in the 160s, and I have one that's a max weight. So my 3 lightweight ones, I have these 2 that are the lightest I have in my bag, 168. And these are my distance drivers. I get a lot of turn out of them and get a decent amount of fade. Anytime I need to throw as far as I can, crank out a pretty far distance shot, I will use these guys. They are pretty similar. I know they're 2 different types of plastic, but they fly really similar. Really, when I'm about to step up to a shot, I'll grab both of these, kind of see which one my grip is feeling, and I'll throw them. So these are used pretty interchangeably. If there's a little bit of a headwind, I'll step up to this Fusion Trespass. These are pretty similar. This one's just a little bit heavier, but for whatever reason, it tends to hold up in wind just a little bit better. So if I need something that gets a little bit more fade or that can handle a little bit of wind, I will use this Fusion one. And then I have my max weight one, which is a 175, and this is my most overstable Trespass. If there is even more wind or I need kind of a longer hyzer, I will throw this Trespass. These are my favorite distance drivers for sure. All right, so we'll move on to the Dynamic Discs Biofusion Enforcer. I have 2 of them in my bag, but they're pretty similar. I mostly keep one as a backup in case I lose one of the other ones. But again, they're lightweight. They're 169. They're both 169, I believe. And they're just an overstable distance driver. They come back every time. They don't get a lot of turn. So if I really need kind of a straight shot that has pretty far and hard fade, I'll use these bad boys. Again, they're not really different. This is the one I use most often. And they just consistently fade and just super overstable and can handle any type of headwind, which I really enjoy. So my last kind of distance driver is the Moonshine Renegade. I use this for understable drives. I have the Moonshine plastic particularly because it's the most overstable plastic that we offer this disc in, and this is a pretty flippy disc. So I can release it on a hyzer and it flips up straight and turns over. I throw it flat, it cuts really hard. So I have to be touchy with this disc, but it goes right every single time. And that's why I use it. It's pretty consistent. We'll move on to fairway drivers. I have 2 different types in my bag. We'll start with my overstable one. I have a Dynamic Discs Lucid Convict. Again, this is a 172. So this is a little heavier than what I usually throw, but that is why it's my overstable fairway. If there's kind of a bit of a headwind or I need a straight shot that's going to fade out pretty hard, I'll use my Convict. This is more overstable actually than I thought it would be, which is why I really like it. It holds up in wind. If I need like a straight tunnel shot and I can sense quite a bit of wind, I'll throw my Convict with a little bit of hyzer, even flat, and it just rides straight and fades nicely at the end. I also have some escapes in my bag. I have a Lucid and a Biofusion. So my Lucid Escape is the fairway driver that I use the most. Escapes in general get amazing glide. I love this disc because of the glide. The Lucid one, I can crank on it flat or ante and it rides for such a long time and it comes back. And what I like about it is that it doesn't come back hard. It fades softly and sits down right where I want it to. The difference between this and the Biofusion one is my Biofusion one goes pretty dead straight and not really much fade to it. What I like about it is that it goes dead straight. It doesn't really deviate very much. So if I need something that fades a little bit more, I'll use the Lucid one, and the Lucid one can handle more power. So if I really crank on a Lucid one, it doesn't flip over or cut roll or anything. But if I were to do that with a Biofusion one, I would get a little bit more turn than I would want. So when I need kind of a shot that requires a lot of power, but straight and consistent, I will use the Dynamic Discs Lucid Escape. The mid-ranges next. I have quite a bit in my bag. So let's talk about each of them. The most understable one I have is the Dynamic Discs Lucid Warrant. This is the equivalent to my Renegade, but in a mid-range. I throw it flat, it cuts right. I can pop it out on a hyzer, it flips up straight, even turns right at the end. So this one I also have to be kind of touchy with. So I'm gonna use that for mostly turnover mid-range shots. The next one, I guess next in line would be the Dynamic Discs Truth. This is an awesome one with Anthony's face on it. This is a great disc. The Lucid Truth just goes dead straight. With the Warrant, I can get a lot of turn out of it, while when I throw the Truth, if I throw it with a little bit of hyzer or even flat, and with probably 70–75% power, it flips up straight and just goes dead straight. I love this disc because it always hits the line I want and always holds the line I want, which is really awesome and really cool to have a disc like this. The next step up would be the EMAC Truth. So if I need a disc that goes for straight for a while and has just a little bit of fade, or maybe one that I can really crank on and I know it'll come back even just a little bit, like with the Truth, if I really cranked on it, I would probably get more turn than I would want, so I'd step up to the EMAC Truth. It's kind of an overstable one. I like that I can really crank on it and it doesn't turn over too much. The next one would be the Dynamic Discs Fusion Verdict. This is an awesome disc. It's my overstable mid-range. I can crank it on an anhyzer and it S's back every time. I can throw it flat and hard, and it has a really nice hard fade, hard finish. And what I also like about this is that it skips a lot. If I need kind of a longer shot that requires kind of a bigger skip, I'll use the Dynamic Discs Verdict. And then my most overstable mid-range would be the Dynamic Discs Fusion Justice. This thing is incredibly overstable. I do not use it very much. It's more of a utility disc. If I need kind of a flare shot or a really overstable forehand shot that needs to turn hard and quick, I'll use the Fusion Justice. All right, we'll move on to my putters now. The first putter I have is the Dynamic Discs Moonshine Slammer. I love this disc. What I use this disc for mostly is forehand upshots. When I have trouble deciding whether I should jump putt or backhand and kind of really get a throw on it, if I'm in that in-between level, I will use the slammer. I can just pop it out on a little bit of a hyzer and it just hyzers in right in. I always hit my mark with this disc. Also, if it's a pretty headwind shot and I need sort of an overstable putter that will be able to hold that wind, I will use the slammer. It comes back every time and it doesn't turn over. So this is a really good disc to have. Now we're at my favorite disc of all time, and that is the Dynamic Discs Judge. I have a few in my bag, but we'll start with the Fusion Judge. This is my overstable putter shot that, I guess, the slammer is overstable. This one's not quite as overstable, but I can get good distance with this. The slammer, on the other hand, because it's so overstable, I can't really get a ton of distance on it. So if I really need it to go far, I will use the Fusion Judge. This disc, I can throw it super hard and super flat, and it barely even turns, but it comes back every time. I can throw it really high on an ante and it S's back. This is the furthest flying putter I've ever thrown. And it's super awesome how overstable it is, because it never turns over on me and it always does what it's supposed to. So if I need a 230 to 250 foot shot, upshot, I can throw this on a hyzer, I can throw it with a little bit of ante and it S's. I can use this in multiple ways, as long as it's in that range. I also have an upshot putter that is the Classic Judge. This is my favorite upshot putter that I have. The difference between this and the Fusion is that this goes straight. My Fusion Judge always hyzers and has kind of a hard left finish, while this Classic Judge goes dead straight. If I release it high and flat, it just rides and it sits down perfectly. It doesn't deviate very much. It's super reliable and always does what I want. I also use it for anhyzer putter shots also. So if that forehand is a little bit too far for my distance, I will use the Classic Judge and throw it on a big ante, and it holds that line, which is what I like a lot. Also, if I pop it up on a hyzer, it flips up straight. So it really likes to go straight. It likes to follow the straight path, which I really like about it. And finally, my putters, again, they're Classic Judges. However, they're not as beat in as this one. These are pretty new. They're classic, they're a little lighter than usual, 172, and they're just an overstable putter. They're my go-to putters. They go in the basket a lot. They have a nice hyzer finish, so when I tend to miss right, which happens, or I guess release a little bit late, it always fades back in, and so it really gives me room, so whether I release straight or right, it tends to find its way to the basket. So I carry a Dynamic Discs dirt bag in my bag. Those are my favorite ones to carry. I have like 10 of them. Anytime it's rainy or my hands are sweaty during the summer, I'll use those. And on my bag, I have the Eric McCabe and Ralph pin. I love this thing. Other than that, that is what's in my bag. Thanks for watching.